thought the world was ordinary until it wasn't. Ye Ping wakes in a place written in the books he worshipped. Sects, tournaments, and secret techniques. Rejected at the root test, hopeless and ashamed, he stumbles into the Blue Cloud sect. What the world didn't know was that the quiet boy carried impossible things. A talent for craft, a memory for patterns, and a stubborn hunger to belong. A single painting, sold for a king's ransom, saves the sect from ruin, and the scroll's emblem whispers a secret name, Scholar of the Blue Lotus. Suddenly, a penniless sect catches the attention of the highest circles. From there, everything accelerates. Under mocking glances and impossible expectations, Ye Ping devours techniques, sword forms, body arts, even forbidden manuals. What should take years occurs in days. Thunder dragons answer his blade, the four thunders' final form awakens, and the sect that once pitied him stares in disbelief. A new name rises from a sect that should have been forgotten. This is no simple ascension. It's the story of a boy who learned to turn art into fate, a scholar who paints the future, and a blade that makes the heavens listen.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Web2 Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.
The story begins with a young man suddenly drenched in sweat, his heart racing as the shocking truth dawns on him. He has been whisked away to a strange new world, much like the ones he used to read about. After dedicating 9 years to relentless effort, he at last reached a place he had always dreamed of. It was at that precise instant that the young man realized the world around him was far from ordinary, contrary to what he had always believed. At that moment, his face shifts dramatically, leaving him utterly bewildered by the events unfolding nearby. He started to question whether he had entered a world centered around cultivation. But just then, a system message appeared to notify him that something was wrong. The young man collapsed onto the floor, overwhelmed by hopelessness, realizing that 9 years of hard work and study had amounted to nothing. He recalls how, in every cultivation tale, the main character always possesses an unbelievable gift. The story shifts to the ceremony where new disciples have their spiritual roots evaluated. Unexpectedly, their friend learns that he lacks a spiritual root. Overwhelmed by despair, he cries out his desire to return to Earth, unable to accept how much this story has changed. While he mourned his misfortune, a stranger emerged from the shadows and presented him with a tempting proposition. The young man reacts with confusion, unable to grasp the stranger's intent behind the unexpected question. At that time, the scene shifted to the Blue Cloud Taoist sect, a stunning location nestled high in the mountains. At that moment, the group encountered the sect master, who was preparing to assign an important task to his disciple, Change You. In truth, the elderly man's desperation overwhelms him as he breaks down in tears, pleading with his student for assistance. The eldest among them appeared composed as he inquired about the matter that seemed so significant. The master informed them that a new regulation was about to end all unapproved relationships like the one they shared. He observes that the rivalry is intense, as various sects clash in hopes of recruiting fresh disciples during the gathering. Certain sects resorted to recruiting attractive young women in hopes of luring impressionable young men into their ranks. The young women attempted to persuade the men to join them by suggesting that dual cultivation would be a rewarding experience. Ultimately, the master explained that he had succeeded in bringing a boy named Ye Ping onto the team, despite Ye Ping's lack of experience. Ye Ping's eyes lit up with excitement, showing that he cared little about money if it meant he could master the art of cultivation. Cautioned that should the boy discover the sect's vulnerability, he would not hesitate to depart immediately. The master then unveiled his clever plan, instructing everyone to act as if they were highly skilled and powerful experts. The older brother considers the plan somewhat ridiculous, believing that all he has to do is act confident and impressive to deceive the newcomer. He then inquires of his master about the nickname the younger disciples use for him in that place. His eyes glowed with a menacing intensity, leaving no no doubt about the powerful reputation he held within the sect. Atop Qingshan Mountain, he boldly announces to all present that he alone holds the title of the greatest showman. He boasts that his ability to show off is unmatched, claiming that if he isn't the best, no one else would even try to surpass him. The master shifts uncomfortably, uncertain whether his current stance is truly something to take pride in. The old man explained that the only change needed was to keep the new disciple encouraged for just 1 year. The eldest disciple feels certain that the time suggested is not enough, and without hesitation, firmly dismisses the proposal. He believes that, under his leadership, aiming to keep the boy interested for just a year is far too modest a goal. With just a bit of determination, he feels certain that the newcomer will be so impressed. He'll wish to follow in their footsteps for all eternity, even beyond this lifetime. The master watched with admiration, acknowledging to himself that the man's fame for putting on a spectacular show was truly earned. The senior brother made a solemn vow, declaring that should he not succeed in his mission, he would willingly consume his own sword. He bids farewell, letting the rookie know that he plans to wait on the back mountain that night for their training to start. The young man declined his master's offer for a ride, declaring with dramatic flair that he had no further use for such assistance. He no longer saw himself as the apprentice who once relied on his master for transportation. With a resolute movement, he extends his arm ahead, his unwavering resolve clear in his actions. The master's eyes widened in surprise as he took in the unexpected actions of his disciples, uncertainty flickering in his mind about how he should respond. A sense of mystery surrounded change, as they hinted at the coming of a prosperous new age for their sect. He raised his voice, calling forth his sword, as a strong energy started to radiate from him, let out a startled scream when he suddenly noticed that his disciple was soaring through the air, skillfully using the sword flight technique. For a whole decade, the master had considered the young man hopeless, so now he was baffled by how the boy had managed to acquire such skills. The older brother boldly displayed a disrespectful sign toward his master, clearly flaunting his newfound strength. The elderly man paused, his mind filling with doubt as he began to silently wonder whether his students possessed the skills they claimed to have. Chanju couldn't hold back his laughter, eventually confessing that he had only been pretending to act cool and actually still needed someone to give him a ride. When evening settled over the back mountain, the bright full moon shone through a blanket of heavy, dark clouds. A solitary man waited quietly above the city, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of the nighttime view. He trembled in the chilly air, dressed in the distinctive attire he had worn during the Blue Province sword tournament. The location had been carefully chosen to set the ideal mood, yet he still found himself sneezing because of the chilly air. Without warning, he becomes aware of another presence drawing near, and his face transforms, adopting a grave and focused look. The young man hurriedly prepared himself, striking a confident battle pose in hopes of catching the rookie's attention. At the same time, Yipping struggled to make her way up and grumbled about how unbelievably tall the mountain was. The newcomer can't hide his astonishment as he spots his senior brother's towering presence already there, waiting for him, faced away from the other person, his hair fluttering in the breeze, giving off the aura of a legendary, ageless master. The young man looked at him and saw a serious, concentrated expression that radiated strength and intelligence. The rookie watches his older brother, noticing that a vibrant blue glow of spiritual energy surrounds him. The boastful master gripped his staff tightly as blue lightning danced and sparked across its surface. Ping's mouth falls open in shock as he questions whether the man standing before him could truly be a legendary sword immortal. However, he quickly grows wary, reasoning that any sect willing to take in someone powerless like himself must not be strong at all. They wondered why someone with such a striking and commanding aura would be chosen as a disciple. At that moment, surprise washes over the boy as he begins to wonder if the situation is more complicated than he first believed. He envisions the sect as appearing modest from the outside, yet hiding incredible strength and secrecy within its walls. The rookie becomes convinced that he has become part of a secretive and legendary sect, just like the ones he has read about in stories. He felt a surge of excitement, imagining that each person present was a skilled expert capable of guiding him to greatness with just one action. At that moment, memories of joining the sect alongside the master earlier that day began to resurface in his mind. He recalled being struck by a powerful sense of rot and neglect when he first laid eyes on the dilapidated building. He found himself puzzled by the sight of the neglected cultivation sect, questioning how it could have become so dilapidated without anyone looking after it. Despite the deserted feeling of the place, he observed that every inch gleamed with cleanliness, an odd detail that caught his attention. These clues suggested that something unusual was happening, and it seemed clear they were intentionally avoiding attention. A surge of excitement filled him as he boasted that not even 3 million sword immortals could stand tall before him. They would all be forced to bow their heads in his presence. Became intrigued by the boy and made a mental note to borrow his clever phrase for future use. He remarked to himself that, having received praise, it would only only be polite to offer a compliment in return to his newly acquainted junior brother. The older brother admitted his lack of preparation, yet promised the newcomer a special chance. After that, he released a surge of blue energy, hurling Yiping backward with tremendous power. The boy's eyes widened in shock, unable to comprehend the overwhelming force behind the unexpected blow. Changyu revealed that the gentle wind was actually a hidden technique believed to enhance a person's natural ability to cultivate good fortune. The newcomer stood stunned, unable to believe that a gentle wind capable of enhancing one's abilities could exist outside of a legendary sect. Ping expressed gratitude with impeccable manners, while concealed the discomfort in his arm, a result of having exerted too much strength. The older brother felt a surge of anxiety inside, realizing that the newcomer had been fooled by nothing more than a simple gust of wind. Took a seat, explaining that there was something he needed to ask before he could begin instructing in swordsmanship. The rookie's eyes lit up with excitement as he recalled how, in stories, experienced mentors would often pose a crucial question. He turned to the new junior brother and inquired about what he believed represented the highest achievement in swordsmanship. Decides that, regardless of what the response might be, he will demonstrate his impressive intelligence to everyone. Yiping's face grew solemn as he pondered intently on what it meant to reach the highest level of sword mastery. He believes the question is exactly right and senses a deep significance hidden within it. The young man felt confident in his secret abilities, yet he hesitated, unsure how to respond to such a complicated question. He believes that giving an ordinary response would lack depth, so he realizes the importance of choosing his words with great caution. After 60 minutes had gone by, grew increasingly annoyed and shivered from the cold, while the new recruit remained lost in thought, still trying to come up with a response. At last, the boy explained that true mastery of the sword meant being able to slice through the sun and moon with nothing more than a single blade of grass. The older brother's eyes widened in disbelief as he tried to process the guy's surprisingly deep and unexpected response. He envisions how just one blade of grass could be wielded with extraordinary strength. The technique unleashed a force so immense that it split the entire world into two, demonstrating a power beyond comprehension. Internally, he panicked, realizing that after 2 decades of practice, he had never anticipated witnessing anything this magnificent. Ping began to worry, wondering if his response had been too much and quietly hoping he hadn't upset his brother. Admired the boy, believing he was impressive, and quietly claimed the memorable phrase as his own. He steadied himself, insisting that the newcomer had overstated things and was setting his sights unrealistically high, a point the younger boy found himself agreeing with. Flashed a cunning grin as he himself to instruct the man, unsheathing his sword with practiced confidence. Changyu swung his sword with great force, sending a massive surge of blue energy rippling outward. He promises to leave a sword mark for the newcomer, who seems unremarkable at first glance, though appearances are deceiving. Within it resided the strongest sword intent known to exist, and how quickly someone could comprehend its mysteries depended entirely on their own natural ability. Yiping's heart brimmed with excitement as he became convinced that he had become part of a secretive sect filled with powerful experts. At the same time, the older brother eagerly dashes away, eager to impress his second junior brother with his latest achievement. Upon reaching his destination, he discovers an enigmatic girl perched atop a rock at the heart of the bamboo forest. The young woman turned her attention to him, inquiring about his opinion regarding the abilities of the newly arrived junior brother at the sect. A cheerful expression lit up the girl's face as she raised her hand in a warm wave to acknowledge her older brother. Once more suspected her of spying, while she insisted her only intention was to learn more about the new recruit's appearance. He chooses to leave the matter unresolved for the moment and invites her to accompany him somewhere else. He wore a grave expression as he explained that he wanted to know just how strong the highest level of swordsmanship could be. The girl struggles to make sense of his words, puzzled about how any of it could possibly relate to her. He repeated the line he had taken from the newcomer, describing how one could slice through the sun and the stars using nothing more than a single blade of grass. The younger sister stands in stunned silence, deeply moved by the profound words her brother has just spoken. She admired his talent for acting important, prompting him to pose confidently, clearly pleased with her recognition. He quickly regains his composure and insists that she respond to the question he had previously posed. He wonders aloud about the amount of time she believes the newcomer will need to grasp the essence of the sword. He acknowledges that even he is unable to fully grasp the fundamental essence of the sword. The girl's eyes widen in surprise as she wonders aloud if he is joking with her. 2 hours passed, and the rookie remained on the summit of the back mountain, continuing to meditate. Yiping concentrated intensely, determined to decipher the mysterious sword mark left behind by his senior brother. He begins to sense that something isn't quite right and starts to suspect that the other man might have deceived him. Despite his earlier uncertainty, the boy chastises himself for ever questioning someone as remarkable as his older brother. At that moment, he concludes that his shortcomings stem from not trying hard enough, and a surge of determination fills him. His gaze intensified, a radiant light emerging from his eyes as he focused every ounce of determination determination on the symbol etched into the earth. The young man persisted, his attention unwavering as he studied the plain sword mark, determined to uncover its hidden meaning. Without warning, his vigilant gaze caught the reflection of an enigmatic silhouette surrounded by a shimmering blue light. A vision of the same figure appeared in his thoughts, enveloped by an intense and commanding aura of spiritual power. A cloaked figure grips a lengthy sword, its blade shimmering with vibrant blue sparks of energy. He proceeds to showcase an array of sword techniques, each move executed with astonishing grace and skill. He moves with such incredible speed that streaks of blue and purple light follow him wherever he goes. At that moment, the rookie is struck by a sensation so intense, it's as though a massive bell has sounded directly beside him. In his thoughts, the 4 distinct styles and a dozen unique techniques gradually took on sharper definition, becoming increasingly vivid to him. He felt as though he were the one gripping the sword, moving through each technique with practiced precision. The mysterious figure repeatedly performed the techniques, allowing the boy to observe and absorb each intricate movement. He observed the scene multiple times, gradually becoming familiar with the patterns of motion. With every repetition in his concentrated thoughts, the blows increased in speed, accelerating rapidly. The young man gradually increased his speed, matching the quickening pace of the enigmatic figure beside him as they both practiced together. Before long, the number of techniques rapidly increases, rising from 12 to 15 within a brief period. Amazingly fast, the young man managed to master 20 unique skills before anyone could even react. A sudden surge of information overwhelmed the boy, causing him to feel lightheaded and disoriented. Perched atop the mountain, he found himself confused, unable to grasp the events that had just unfolded. His eyes grew wide as he came to the conclusion that only his senior brother could be responsible for everything unfolding before him. The young man had never considered that a gentle gust of wind could boost a person's abilities to such an extraordinary degree. Tears welled up in his eyes as he wept with joy, overwhelmed by the rare stroke of good fortune following a long streak of misfortune in his life. He gradually regains his composure, reassuring himself that this is only the start and believing the mark will bring him even greater benefits in the future. A week passed, and at the senior brother's home, a breathtaking view unfolded amid the picturesque Sect mountains. His display case stood inside, brimming with sparkling, elegant accessories. He grabbed one of his belongings, ready to start another routine day filled with his usual displays of confidence. Wearing a stylish and refined ensemble, he prepares himself to step outside, eager to make a lasting impression on the recently arrived junior brother. He gazes at the clear, sunny sky, deciding that such a lovely day offers a great chance for him to impress others. Eager to prove his abilities, he embarks on his journey, determined to track down the rookie and demonstrate just how impressive he truly is. A man crosses a bridge that spans a rushing waterfall, his appearance exuding the aura of an immortal sage. Although he tries to hide it, he feels worn out and wishes he had picked somewhere closer to visit. He feels frustrated because people underestimate how exhausting sword training really is, believing it to be simple when, in truth, it demands a lot of effort. A week earlier, he had confessed to his younger female apprentice that the concept of sword intent was beyond his comprehension. The girl felt a wave of disappointment, realizing that despite his lengthy training, he had yet to master the skill. He grows irritated by her remark and begins tapping his younger sister's forehead with his finger. Proudly claims that the sword style he has mastered, known as the Four Thunders technique, ranks among the 10 best styles. The technique emphasized powerful, masculine energy and was organized into 4 distinct forms, each channeling the thunder associated with a different season. Described the different stages of his technique, and his sister wondered aloud about which stage he had currently reached. The map revealed that his skills were limited to just the first form, yet he confidently boasted about how much more he would achieve in the future. Wearing a frightening expression, he warned that she would soon witness what he could do, causing fear to wash over the girl. The sister wondered aloud about the rookie's potential, imagining just how talented he might be if he managed to grasp sword intent by himself. The older brother bursts into laughter, unable to take the suggestion seriously and dismissing it as utterly ridiculous. He clarifies that when it comes to mastering the sword, the particular technique matters less than the purpose behind each strike. Very few exceptionally talented individuals had ever approached the mastery known as infinite sword intent. The girl remained persistent, pressing to know what rank the rookie would reach if he managed to accomplish such a challenge. Changju insists that the task cannot be done, arguing that even the most brilliant mind from the past 5 centuries would find it beyond their abilities. A week slipped by before the older brother climbed the mountain to check on the rookie's progress. When he arrived, he found himself curious about whether his younger brother had finally awakened after spending such a long time in meditation. He discovers Yiping lying on the floor, his eyes shadowed by deep rings, giving the impression that he has been deprived of sleep for several days. The rookie rises to his feet, his face showing clear signs of fatigue, yet his eyes burn with unwavering determination and sharp focus. Stared in disbelief at the boy, confusion and surprise surprise filling her mind as she tried to figure out what could have caused his current state. He grew anxious, realizing that the unstable man had fixated on the sword mark, unaware that it was only a fabrication. After realizing what he had done, he became overwhelmed with guilt for deceiving the unsuspecting man. Thinking of the Sect's well-being above all else, he chooses to overlook the issue for now, silently vowing to repay the boy's kindness at a later time. Yiping rose from his bed, exhaustion etched on his face. Despite his tiredness, a genuine smile appeared when he noticed his senior brother had arrived at last. Shifted uncomfortably, then inquired about the progress of training in the newly introduced discipline. The newcomer claims to have grasped it all, leaving on the verge of reassuring him that confusion is typical, but someone cuts him off before he can finish. Stared in disbelief, his mind reeling as he questioned whether the rookie truly grasped the significance of the gift he had received. He nodded in agreement, reflecting on how he had managed to grasp 400 sword techniques within a single day. The older brother bursts into laughter, convinced that the rookie has completely lost touch with reality. The newcomer remains puzzled by the laughter, silently questioning what everyone else finds amusing. He wonders if 400 movements might be too little for someone as skilled as his senior brother. Yiping believed that, with his assistance, anyone possessing talent could master more than 1,000 in just one day. At that moment, he couldn't help but feel inadequate, realizing how little he had mastered when compared to a true expert. Explains that honesty is important to him, and admits that the technique is so complex, it's natural for others to struggle to understand it. Despite the doubts around him, the rookie firmly maintains his honesty, claiming that he truly mastered all 400 movements. The boy's expression fell as he wondered aloud if his older brother believed he wasn't deserving enough to be taught so many things. He believes that, given the chance he was offered, reaching 400 is not an unreasonable expectation. The older brother's frustration grew as he saw his sibling treat the path of the sword with such little respect, recalled all the people who had doubted his abilities, and thinking about them filled him with real anger toward the man in front of him. He makes up his mind to give the boy a lesson, hoping it will help him understand the importance of respecting the way of the sword. Despite any hesitation, Ping rises to the occasion by seizing his sword, determined to demonstrate to his brother the skills he has gained. On the mountaintop, beneath a sky painted blue and streaked with white clouds, the two stood silently, gazing at one another. The newcomer unsheathes his blade, and immediately, a brilliant surge of yellow and gold light radiates from the weapon. A bright yellow energy shimmered in his eyes, mirroring the sparks of lightning that danced across his sword. He began performing one of the techniques he had practiced, moving with remarkable quickness. The boy swung his weapon with great force, unleashing a surge of golden energy that surged toward his brother. The rookie wielded their sword with remarkable speed and grace, moving as effortlessly as drifting clouds and running water. Before anyone could realize it, he flawlessly executed the 26th move. Observes the attacks with a calm and focused face, his emotions hidden behind an unreadable mask. He kept a close eye on the young man's every move, noticing how skillfully the guy performed each action. The older brother wore a comically strained expression as he struggled to keep his composure and not lose control. With every motion, the rookies moved faster and pushed their skills to new levels of intensity. He continued past the 36th movement, displaying no intention of pausing. The boy unleashed a rapid series of powerful blows, each one executed with astonishing speed and force. A surge of golden energy burst from him, radiating outward and engulfing the surroundings. At that moment, he completed the 108th movement from the sword technique he had mastered. Simultaneously, a loud crash of thunder echoed across the sky, lighting everything with a brilliant yellow flash. Stared in astonishment as streaks of lightning converged, gradually shaping into a mysterious form before his eyes. He recognized the thunder dragon from his previous dreams. The sound of the dragon's roar bounced off the mountain walls, adding to the breathtaking atmosphere of the scene. He stood frozen in place, overwhelmed by the shocking sight before him, struggling to catch his breath. The completion of the 4 thunders sword technique was marked by that very sign, signaling the mastery of its final stage. He shouted in disbelief, unable to accept that a newcomer had accomplished the technique he had always dreamed of mastering. The older brother is astonished that the boy managed to accomplish so much in just a week. The astonishments continued as a vibrant green thunder dragon suddenly emerged high above in the sky. Almost simultaneously with the second dragon's arrival, the autumn dragon made its entrance as well. The dragons unleashed thunderous roars that echoed through the valleys, causing the very ground to shake in a spectacle unlike anything witnessed in the past. Despite everything, the rookie maintained their pace, pushing themselves to perform the moves at an even greater speed. His attacks grew faster with each movement, leaving shimmering streaks of gold in their wake. Ultimately, his speed increased so much that his actions turned into nothing more than a streak of motion. With this event, the mightiest form of the sword art, known as the Winter Thunder, came to life. The sword arrived at its ultimate destiny, yet it carried a unique sensation unlike the previous 3. The older brother felt beads of cold sweat forming on his forehead as he witnessed the power of his younger brother's latest technique. A chilling emptiness settled over him, making it seem as though a bitter winter had swept in and erased every trace of warmth and vitality from his surroundings. Yi Ping concluded his performance, halting at the 432nd movement, stares in shock, his mouth hanging open as he struggles to process the unbelievable scene unfolding before his eyes. The newcomer had achieved full command over all 4 techniques within the Thunder Sword art. He remained still, realizing he might be depending too heavily on the sword's technique alone. He came to understand that he had been fixated on the appearance and recognized the need to look past the surface, reflecting instead on the essence of the body itself. At that moment, he realized the true lesson his brother had hoped to impart through the training. The older brother finds himself utterly baffled, unable to grasp the meaning behind the boy's words. Yi Ping began to test what he had just learned about the sword of the Son of Heavens. Using his hands, he shapes a radiant arrow, its brilliant glow radiating an overwhelming strength. An arrow sped through the air, striking a rock and triggering a brilliant burst of light and energy. Stared in disbelief, overwhelmed by shock that the new recruit had experienced yet another sudden realization simply by practicing the techniques. To the senior brother, the Winter Thunder Sword appeared to embody ultimate devastation and transcendence. The fresh aura radiated an intense sense of rejuvenation and vitality, making it seem as though a span of 10,000 years had breathed new life into everything. A boundless surge of lively energy filled the area, forming an enormous tree glowing with green light. Change Yu experienced a sensation that the shapeless sword before him was a reflection of his own journey in cultivation. The situation felt so intense that one action seemed capable of defeating countless soldiers in an instant. He grows increasingly anxious, understanding the serious consequences this could have for his younger brother. His eyes widened as he questioned internally whether the newcomer had truly mastered the concept of sword intent. The senior brother stared at the young man's display of strength, his face frozen in disbelief and astonishment. However, the sensation soon fades away, leaving Yiping unable to sense any trace of that overwhelming power. He was taken aback by the overwhelming power and felt a wave of disappointment, realizing his abilities were too limited to sustain it for more than a brief moment. Changyu's forehead glistened with nervous perspiration as he struggled to understand how the newcomer could possibly see him as anything less than strong after everything that had happened. He recalled a moment from his childhood when he was fortunate enough to catch a glimpse of the Void Sword, even if only a single time. He was convinced that the limitless power of sword intent surpassed not only the Jin realm, but also extended far beyond the 10 realms themselves. Despite his worries, Ping makes a silent vow to put in greater effort, determined not to let his senior brother down again. The older brother believes that, no matter how many years he spends training, he will never reach the rookie's level. After making his decision, he turned around and remarked that the other boy was just ordinary, which left the boy feeling somewhat disheartened. He questioned his own abilities, feeling uncertain about his worth if the newcomer was considered average, especially since the gap between their skills seemed so extreme. Changyu spotted a glimmering object resting atop a rock and turned to his brother, curious about what it could be. Ping walked over and explained that it was nothing more than a notebook containing a few of his cultivation notes. The older brother requested to see the notebook, and the rookie, feeling a bit nervous, passed it to him with a hint of hesitation. He wore a solemn look as he carefully turned the pages of the notebook, searching for any notes his brother had left behind. The senior brother examined the rookie's notes and was astonished to discover deep insights and unique ideas that he had never encountered before. He could identify every individual ideogram, yet when he viewed them all at once, their meaning felt as vast and mysterious as the cosmos itself. Felt utterly confused, yet he couldn't help but be deeply unsettled by the insight his younger brother displayed. The newcomer dismisses the ideas as mere unfounded guesses, insisting they are nothing like the true message he hoped to share. The older brother found himself puzzled, unable to grasp how the boy had so easily attained enlightenment of the Tao. After more than a decade of dedicated training, he had only just grasped the basics of the spring technique. Deep inside, he carries a sense of defeat, believing that life treats men with particular harshness and unfairness. Instructed the boy to persist in his journey toward enlightenment, assuring him that he would return in a few days to check on his progress. Yiping began to worry, fearing that his senior brother had grown impatient with his lack of skill and was planning to send him away. He pleaded desperately to stay, overwhelmed by the fear of losing the first person who had ever welcomed him. The young man recalled attending over 50 initiation ceremonies, yet every sect had rejected him because they considered him too weak. He questioned whether simply gazing at the sky could spark a moment of sudden clarity for someone like him. Regardless of the obstacles ahead, he resolves to grasp this opportunity wholeheartedly and refuses to surrender. At the residence of a serene and picturesque haven rested atop the mountain, radiating tranquility. The master master sat back peacefully, sipping tea and admiring the blooming flowers under the pleasant sky. Without warning, a disciple rushed into the room, his voice filled with panic as he announced that something was terribly wrong. Rushed in, clearly alarmed, and urgently informed his master of a grave incident that had just occurred. He announces that the master's long-awaited dream is on the verge of becoming reality, and believes the sect is destined to bring forth a true dragon. The master's eyes grew wide with astonishment as he heard the startling news his disciple had delivered. The elderly man looks bewildered, unable to grasp the meaning behind the dragon's tale, and wonders aloud about the topic of conversation. Shared that the newest junior brother had astonishingly learned all 4 sword techniques within just a week. The master furrowed his brow in confusion, wondering aloud if the other person truly believed the rookie possessed exceptional talent. He reprimanded his student for being dishonest about something as important as claiming to have mastered the technique. The elderly man believed that the disturbance near the sect was caused by a highly skilled expert making a breakthrough. When he spotted the thunder dragon, he suddenly understood that little Yiping had been responsible for everything from the very beginning. Tears welled up in the master's eyes as he wept with joy, overwhelmed by the realization that his sect had at last produced a true prodigy. His excitement grew so intense that his disciple was forced to step in and soothe him, preventing the situation from spiraling into disaster. The elderly man poured water over his head, his mind drifting back to the time a fortune teller warned him that disaster awaited him in the future. Felt concerned that his actions might hinder the rookie's progress, yet the master seemed to have a different strategy in mind. He explains that being selected by them is considered a great honor, and insists that the boy was always meant to end up in this place. When the sect advances in rank, the master resolves to reveal everything to the rookie, promised to obey every decision his master made, and vowed to keep all matters confidential. The following afternoon found the master once more unwinding on set, savoring the calm and peaceful atmosphere. His student hurried over, yelling that another serious issue had come up. The older brother rushed in, panting heavily, his face etched with desperation as he announced that a catastrophe had befallen the sect. The master remained composed, sipping his tea without a hint of concern as the commotion unfolded around him. He made up his mind to lay low for a while, and planned to entrust the responsibility of running the sect to Change Yu during his absence. The disciple felt bewildered, wondering aloud about the reason for everyone's distress if debt collectors weren't involved. The master lightly tapped on the head, expressing his irritation at being startled so badly by his commotion. The story shifts to the serene and picturesque mountain home, where the sect master resides in tranquility. The master inquired about the situation, prompting to silently pass him a sheet of paper, believing it would be clearer if the master read it on his own. The sect management office planned to launch a thorough investigation into every sect that had not yet been ranked. Within the span of 2 months, the sect planned to present 10 spirit stones as evidence of their honesty, determined to show they were not deceivers. The master, filled with anger over the tax demand, announces his intention to travel to the capital in order to submit a formal complaint. Within the cultivation realm, a single copper coin is enough to purchase just 1 steamed bun and nothing else. In this world, 10,000 copper coins could be exchanged for either 100 silver coins or 1 gold coin. It required 10 gold coins just to obtain 1 low-quality spirit stone. To collect 10 spirit stones, the sect would need to endure a year of hunger. Change Yu wondered aloud about the number of spirit stones available in the sect, hoping this might help them find a solution to their dilemma. The master positioned himself in an unusual stance, raising his hand to display 7 fingers for his disciple to see. The older brother estimates there are 70 stones, believing that amount will more than suffice for their needs. He wondered aloud if the amount was 7 coins, but the master only stared back at him, tears welling up in his eyes as he remained silent. Felt a wave of hopelessness wash over her as she noticed the master lying motionless on the ground, and she wondered aloud whether the amount was 70 silver coins. He lets out a loud scream upon discovering that the sect's entire savings amount to just 70 copper coins. The disciples struggled to comprehend how such a thing could happen, feeling baffled that even the simplest group, as long as it was a sect, should not face this situation. The master shared that he had learned of a creature known as a pig's vulture, and believed putting money into it would be wise. Changju felt puzzled by the unusual name, and found himself questioning what exactly a pig's vulture could be. The elderly man explained that securing an investment opportunity had been challenging for him due to the overwhelming demand. In just a matter of days, the fraudsters disappeared, taking all the money and abandoning everyone without a trace or hope of getting their funds back. Tears welled up in his eyes as he turned to his disciple, silently seeking comfort and hoping for a reassuring embrace after being deceived. The sect's downfall became clear even to outsiders, and now its leader seriously considered closing everything forever. The master insisted that he would accept responsibility and journey to the mountains if it became necessary. Without warning, a brilliant blue light streaked across the sky, crackling with electricity and causing both of them to jump in surprise. The master reacts with astonishment, unable to comprehend the unusual event unfolding before him. Noticed that the flash was heading heading toward his younger brother's home, and a sense of worry washed over him. He gazed up at the sky, curiosity flickering in his eyes as he considered whether the newcomer might have grown even stronger once more. The master believed such rapid progress was unthinkable, certain that even prodigies could not achieve advancement at such an astonishing pace. He made up his mind to descend the mountain, hoping to seek out old acquaintances from whom he could borrow some spirit stones. A week passed, and training resumed for the new disciples on the mountain behind the main grounds. The newcomer demonstrated remarkable agility and accuracy while rehearsing sword techniques. As each day of training passed, he effortlessly developed innovative sword techniques. Comes to understand that the unusual event was actually yet another remarkable discovery made by his younger brother. As his younger brother's brilliance became more apparent, he started to feel the heavy burden of living in the shadow of such talent. The new trainee approached his older peer and offered a polite greeting. In response, the senior inquired about the progress the rookie had made in his training. Yiping claimed to have mastered every one of the 1,460 sword techniques he had studied. The older brother's eyes filled with tears of jealousy, unable to believe that the newcomer would take things to such an extreme. He proceeded to describe to his younger brother the power and purpose behind the sword. The inexperienced newcomer is overwhelmed by a sense of inadequacy, believing they have fallen short because they have not yet become a true sword cultivator. The older brother understands that he must invent a believable explanation if he wants to keep his secret hidden. Yiping wanted to know his senior brother's current level, so he could measure his own progress against it. Stands tall, his presence commanding attention as he gets ready to respond to the question posed by his younger brother. He boasted about recently reaching the initial level of the famed supreme sword technique. The rookie, awestruck by the grand name, feels deep admiration and silently vows to remain by his brother's side for life. Chanju clarified that simply stepping into this realm instantly elevates an individual to the highest level of mastery across the 10 realms. Yiping could hardly believe it when he discovered that his senior brother ranked as the most powerful figure across all 10 realms. The thought of mastering all his teacher's skills and claiming the title of the second strongest fills him with excitement. The young newcomer vowed to one day master the infinite sword intent, just as his predecessor had before him. After spending so long as an unknown, he now found himself training in swordsmanship within his sect, the experience feeling so surreal it was as if he were dreaming. As the sun dipped below the horizon, warm light washed over Blue Cloud Peak, causing the mountain slopes to blaze with a vivid crimson hue. At that moment, the older brother gazed quietly at the landscape, his face calm and reflective. He wonders aloud whether the newcomer had truly been a scholar prior to joining their sect. Proposes that they create a painting for him, hoping it will serve as a keepsake in the years to come. He gave a cunning glance, imagining that the artwork's value would soar once the newcomer gained fame. Yiping consented to create the painting, though he cautioned his brother not to be disappointed if the final result failed to meet expectations. In his previous life, he became a member of an art club solely to catch the attention of a girl he liked. After 3 years of diligent effort, she finally achieved a head of thick, lustrous hair. He discovered through experience that mastering painting skills didn't guarantee he would find a girlfriend. About an hour passed before the rookie came back, carrying the completed painting, which he then handed over to his senior brother. Watched his brother closely, a cheerful grin spreading across his face as he eagerly anticipated the outcome. He observes the focused young man and notices a distinct appeal about him, nearly rivaling his own good looks. The rookie, feeling a touch of embarrassment, presented the completed painting to his senior brother, accepted the scroll, and carefully unrolled it, revealing the artwork that his younger brother had created especially for him. He looked at the painting, his eyes growing wide with astonishment at how skillfully it was done. The artwork shows the older brother standing confidently, his figure highlighted against the backdrop of a glowing golden sunset. Within the scroll, a lifelike evening light stretches across the sky, casting a warm glow over everything. Blue Cloud Mountain appeared almost magical, bursting with colorful flowers, lush grass, and vibrant trees that seemed to create a paradise on Earth. The painting's features appeared so flawless that they almost looked more lifelike than reality itself. The most striking feature of the portrait was the commanding presence of the senior brother, who occupied the central position. Even a quick glance at the side of his face revealed the intense and commanding presence of a genuine sword immortal. The figure in the painting appeared so lifelike and dynamic that it seemed ready to burst free from the canvas and strike anyone who gazed at it directly in the chest. The older brother confessed that the painting looked amazing, though he jokingly pointed out that the only issue was how overly handsome he appeared in it. Ping expressed gratitude for the compliment and explained that the painting was a present meant to show appreciation for all the guidance received. Changju's attention is drawn to the lower right corner of the painting scroll, where some writing catches their eye. The words "Scholar of the Blue Lotus" appeared there, immediately capturing the older brother's interest because of the unusual title. He puzzled over the meaning of Scholar of the Blue Lotus and found himself curious about the identity of this mysterious individual. Without warning, his master reached out to him through a voice transmission, offering a plan that could rescue the sect. Silently questioned what what kind of answer the master might offer for their overwhelming and unreasonable debt. He picked up the painting and bid farewell to the rookie, assuring him that he would bring it along to ensure its safety. At the same time, within the heavenly sect, a dragon crackling with pink lightning suddenly materialized in the sky above. The magnificent beast soared across the sky, surrounded by a vibrant glow of pink and purple energy. Atop soared Comprehension Mountain, a vibrant purple streak shimmered, crackling fiercely with bolts of lightning. A young man found himself captivated by the mark etched into the rock, a relic left behind by the legendary ancestor of the Four Seasons. A girl remarked that sword marks left by just any ordinary swordsman would not be worth their attention. Without warning, the symbol on the mountain unleashed a surge of pink and purple energy that shot up into the sky. One of the young men bursts into a joyful cheer, thrilled that he has at last grasped the secret behind the sword technique. He boasted casually about mastering the final technique of the Spring Thunder sword, acting as though it were no big deal. A fellow disciple watched with admiration, clearly amazed by the remarkable strength Su had just demonstrated. Within just a single year, the girl observed, he had managed to do what it would normally take a genius 3 years to achieve. The disciples looked on in awe, while their senior brother showcased his remarkable skills. His master offered his congratulations, expressing confidence that could secure the top spot in the upcoming tournament. The young man beams with pride, downplaying his achievement as if reaching the impressive conclusion required no special effort. Another master, however, warns that the Blue Province hides many skilled experts, making it premature to rejoice. He suggests that, after a whole year, the disciples belonging to the other elders have only just managed to complete the first stage. The elder's face flushed with indignation at the unexpected irony, and he demanded to know how the other had the audacity to behave so boldly toward him. A disciple intervened, putting an end to the argument and urging everyone to focus on securing a spot in the top 10, emphasizing that nothing else mattered. The second elder appeared puzzled, wondering aloud about the pressing need to secure a spot within the top 10. The young man clarified that anyone ranking among the top 10 competitors would receive a token granting entry to the Sword Tower. The announcement about the provincial tournament's reward leaves both elders astonished and thrilled. The Sword Tower held a reputation as a place of legend, and gaining access to it was considered both rare and extremely worthwhile. His master exuded unwavering confidence, firmly believing that both he and his student would secure a spot among the top 10 contenders. Another elder cautioned him against becoming overconfident, suggesting it would be embarrassing to be defeated by a student from a lesser-known sect. His master confidently claimed that, should anyone from beyond the three great sects manage to defeat, he would personally take on the task of scrubbing their bathrooms. Inside the master's residence at the Blue Cloud sect, golden rays from the afternoon sun streamed in, casting a warm glow over the picturesque surroundings. Change and his master discussed the debt they owed, carefully considering the difficult circumstances they faced together. The disciple could hardly believe his eyes when he discovered the unconventional plan his master had devised to raise funds for the sect. The tabletop is crowded with worn-out items, including battered pots, chipped teapots, and worthless ancient coins. Changju felt confused, unable to see how any profit could come from the heap of junk their master had collected. The elderly man suggested that the only answer was to pawn all of their possessions, insisting that these items were the most prized treasures of the sect. The older brother decides he would rather keep his pride than bring those items to a pawn shop. The master's attention shifted to the artwork in his disciple's hands, curiosity sparking as he inquired about its nature. He picked up the scroll and walked off with it, instructing the other person to sell it together with the remaining items. The pair reached the pawn shop, a building that stood out for its classic, old-fashioned design. A man welcomes the group warmly and ushers them into his modest store. The man inquired about their purpose, wondering whether they intended to make a purchase or offer something for sale, and the master responded confidently, explaining that they had brought a valuable item to sell. The dealer observes their presence, sensing an unusual energy that sets them apart from others, and begins getting ready to evaluate the items they have brought. When he looked at the items, it became clear to him that everything was unraveling and held little value. He wore a scowl, clearly let down by how poor the sect's treasures were. Among the clutter they had gathered, he came across a magazine filled with adult material. The dealer's face flushes with embarrassment as he stares in disbelief at the unexpected item he has discovered among the belongings. The master felt hopeless as he explained that Yuan's magazine could never be purchased, no matter the situation. The master informed the dealer that they were allowed to take anything they wanted, except for the magazine, which the master mentioned someone might request to borrow at a later time. The dealer presented an offer of 10 gold coins for the entire pile of junk, but the master considered the amount to be outrageously low. The elderly man's face twisted with irritation as he insisted that only someone with a keener eye could truly appreciate the craftsmanship of his belongings. The master attempted to negotiate, suggesting that all the items be sold for just 8 gold coins. However, the dealer stood firm and declined this proposal. He reduced the price to 5 gold coins, firmly making it clear that he would not consider any offers below that amount. Feeling a flush of of embarrassment from the situation unfolding before him, suggested to his master that they should simply walk away. The dealer's attention shifts to the painting, and with growing curiosity, he requests permission to examine the scroll in the other person's hands. He notices the Cheyenne rice paper and questions in his mind the reason for their possession of such a costly item. The master's eyes widened with shock upon discovering that the rookie had chosen an exceptionally costly paper for the painting. The man reveals that the sheet itself holds a value greater than 10 gold coins, astonishing the elderly man. When the dealer noticed the emblem belonging to the scholar of the Blue Lotus, astonishment filled him, and his admiration for the painting grew even stronger. His eyes grew wide with disbelief as he struggled to accept the reality unfolding before him. He summoned one of his assistants, intending to share crucial information about the scroll he was holding. The sect master found himself utterly bewildered by the uproar that erupted in the pawn shop because of the painting. The dealer leaned over and murmured quietly into his assistant's ear, leaving the assistant wide-eyed with surprise at what had just been revealed. The man double-checked the details with his supervisor, who assured him that everything was accurate. The man's demeanor shifted completely as he instructed him to remain there until the chief manager could assess the situation. Change and his master both sensed a wave of awkwardness between them and silently decided it would be best to postpone any further discussion until morning. A thorough assessment took place. About an hour passed before the dealer came back, remarking that the person who submitted the artwork clearly had significant experience. The master began to explain that it was merely a creation of the junior brother, but before he could finish, his disciple interrupted him. Changyu raised his hand in a subtle gesture, indicating a desire to receive a reasonable offer for the painting they had brought along. He considered placing a large bet, hoping to win 50 coins from the group because their curiosity was obvious. The dealer pauses, his face tightening with intense concentration as he carefully examines the circumstances. The master reprimanded his student, insisting that the amount was excessive and claiming that nobody would be willing to pay such a high price. The dealer agreed to the proposal and announced his intention to purchase the painting for 50,000 coins. The elderly man boasted about his clever plan, while Changyu stood in utter disbelief at the staggering sum. The sect master's eyes grew wide with shock as he stumbled over his words, trying to recall the amount he had previously promised to pay. The man nodded in agreement with the stated amount, then inquired whether this was not the sum originally requested for the artwork, and his master stared in disbelief, their faces etched with confusion as they leveled accusations at the dealer, convinced he was attempting to deceive them. The man feels insulted and firmly insists that his store has no patience for playful behavior, especially when serving esteemed customers like these. The older brother stared in disbelief, struggling to comprehend how one painting could carry a value of 50,000 coins. He urges his master to agree to the offer right away, warning that the dealer might reconsider the price if they hesitate. The chief manager entered the scene, clarifying that his earlier words had been misinterpreted. Changyu panicked, unleashing a string of curses at the old man, furious that he had lost his mind over the promise of 50,000 coins. The master firmly acknowledged the outrageous price, insisting that he would not settle for even a coin less. The older brother pleaded with his master to act sensibly, feeling confused about how any painting could possibly be valued so highly. The dealer let out a laugh, acknowledging that the old man had guessed correctly, and made it clear that they would not entertain any attempts at bargaining. He considers 50,000 to be a large sum, yet he believes that price is reasonable for a piece created by the renowned scholar of the Blue Lotus, and his master could hardly believe it when they learned that 50,000 was actually a reasonable sum. Inside, the elderly man panicked, realizing he had blurted out a high price in hopes of earning extra money. The master chooses to go along with the situation, hoping to gather some additional information. The shrewd dealer managed to outwit everyone. He explains that he has already compared prices at a different store, and points out that others also appreciate the craftsmanship. The dealer acknowledges that the scholar of the Blue Lotus is already regarded as a legendary figure within their circle. Despite being a newcomer, he had quickly earned a reputation throughout the Jin Kingdom as a prodigy, celebrated for his exceptional skill in calligraphy. The young man possessed an extraordinary gift for painting, and collectors eagerly competed to obtain his masterpieces. Women throughout the kingdom found themselves infatuated with the enchanting poetry he included in his writings. Each night, thoughts of his face filled their dreams, and they longed for a chance to see the renowned artist in person. Many arrogant scholars had set aside their pride in attempts to replicate or comprehend his masterpieces. His distinctive approach to art sparked a genuine creative revival that swept across the entire kingdom. By the time anyone noticed how gifted he was, he had vanished completely, leaving no sign behind. The renowned scholar associated with the Blue Lotus abandoned all he possessed and disappeared without a trace, showing no concern for gaining honor or acknowledgement from others. The dealer described the situation as both disgraceful and praiseworthy, leaving and his master astonished by what they heard. The chief manager glanced at the group and pointed out that the painting was deeply flawed, explaining that the problem lay in it being a portrait. Let out a laugh, convinced that his unmatched good looks would make the painting more valuable. Yet the reality turned out to be quite the reverse. The master grows enraged and quietly warns that the value will plummet to an unreasonable low as a result of this situation. The man explains that, since the artwork is a portrait, its worth decreases by tens of thousands of coins, essentially being wasted. The master's eyes burned with fury, and an intense rage surged within him, making it seem as if he was ready to tear someone apart without mercy. The dealer stated that he could pay no more than 100,000 coins for the painting. The elderly man agreed to the price right away, showing no interest in bargaining, and requested that the money be delivered as soon as possible. The setting shifts to a lively metropolis, crowded with people and lined with buildings that showcase classic architectural styles. The master concludes that stopping now is the wisest choice, choosing not to take any further chances by visiting another shop. He explains that, given their current abilities, escaping would be out of the question if anyone were to find out about the treasure. Admired his master's composure and intelligence, while the master confidently boasted about his status as the leader in romantic pursuits. They both gazed at the cash they had earned by selling the painting created by the Blue Lotus scholar. The elderly man rejoices over the sect's salvation and the newfound wealth brought by the 100,000 coins. The man's frustration boiled over after losing a great deal of money due to the flawed trait, prompting him to seize his disciple and shake him in anger. The master pondered over Yiping's true identity. Curious about the number of secrets the young boy continued to conceal, Changyu wonders if the newcomer might possess something special. It might be a hidden ability, something that even he himself is unaware of. The elderly man chooses to remain silent about what he suspects, opting not to question his new apprentice about any hidden matters. He abruptly ended the casual conversation, insisting that it was time for them to leave and head to a different location. The master explains that because the newcomer helped out the sect, it is now his responsibility to offer a gift in return. The group reached the secret origin pavilion, a grand and opulent building that clearly showed its high value. The older brother's fear became evident as he nervously wondered whether his master truly planned to enter that ominous place. He grumbled about the store being pricier than any other in the city, thinking his master might be going a little too far. The elderly man insisted that the rookie had rightfully earned the money and suggested that they ought to support his potential by investing in him. He thinks the sect's fate could rest on how much his talented new disciple improves. Changju continued to worry about the high cost of a pavilion, but the master revealed the money they had received. The old man believed that appearing wealthy depended on carrying oneself with confidence, and with that self-assurance, he walked into the pavilion. The newcomers were welcomed by two strikingly attractive women, who smiled warmly and ushered them into the lavish surroundings. The master's face flushes with admiration as he takes in the elegance and grandeur of the secret origin pavilion, clearly captivated by its opulent beauty. The master cooled himself with his fan while inquiring about the cost of their finest manuals. The saleswoman explains that a first-class set normally costs 100,000 coins, but she mentions that there's a special discount available today. Changju stared in disbelief at the outrageous prices of the manuals displayed in the upscale shop, unable to comprehend how they could cost so much. The woman explains that the cost amounts to just above 100,000 coins, emphasizing that this deal will only be available for a short period. The older brother's shoulders slump with disappointment as he comes to understand that the luxurious world of the wealthy remains out of reach for ordinary people like him. The master chastised him, insisting that he remain steady, as it was important for them to uphold their dignified appearance. Wonders aloud about the price of only the introductory volume, hoping to find a more affordable choice. The saleswoman considers the request unusual and explains that having only the first volume would not be helpful. She assures the customer that purchasing is possible, but firmly states that all sales are final and returns are not allowed. The master quietly remarked that using 10,000 coins to buy a worthless manual seemed insane, yet his disciple did not share the same opinion. Recalled how his younger brother had managed to grasp a whole technique simply from observing a single mark left by a sword. He gazes ahead with determination, convinced that a single introductory volume will suffice. The elderly man inquired of the saleswoman about which among the three beginner books held the greatest impact. She explains that the river sword technique holds the greatest strength and has the potential to unlock advanced abilities. She cautions that this option comes with the highest price tag, mentioning that even the first volume alone requires 9,000 coins to purchase. The master loudly announced his decision to purchase the priciest item and instructed the saleswoman to package it for him. He chooses to use the remaining funds to purchase key and special refining pills, hoping these will boost their energy levels. The older brother feels stunned by his master's choice, yet remains silent, unable to voice his thoughts. Wondered aloud whether the master might be under some kind of possession, yet the master remained resolute in his intention to use every last bit. After they exited the store, the master broke down in tears over spending all his money, while chastised him for making such a scene. Recalls that the younger disciples are scheduled to face their alchemy tests when the year draws to a close. The master became furious, warning him not to consider returning, since there was no money left for them anymore. He led the other person to a hidden location overflowing with valuable items, revealing that it was, in reality, a sale meant to clear out old inventory. At a bustling street market, the pair came across a vendor who sold manuals by weight, stared in disbelief, trying to confirm whether this was truly the legendary hidden spot rumored to be filled with treasures. The master warned him not to let the low price deceive him, explaining that numerous valuable items were concealed within the collection. The elderly man begins to bargain with the seller, insisting that he will purchase no more than £5 for the price of 10 coins. Both of them crouched amidst the chaos, carefully searching through the disarray for any valuable manuals. Carefully examines the collection of books, searching intently for anything worthwhile hidden amid the clutter. He comes across several books, their covers bursting with bright colors and featuring strange, suggestive illustrations mixed in with the instructional guides. The older brother found himself bewildered by the situation, convinced that using such things would make proper cultivation impossible. The master felt pleased with acquiring the books, reflecting on how the journey to obtain them had been an eventful one. Wondered if his master intended to purchase something for him, but the elderly man seemed to have different intentions in mind. He claims that age has taken its toll on him, leaving him frail, and now his greatest happiness comes from watching the sect thrive. The disciple pointed out that the master was acting overly sentimental, prompting the master to ban him from boasting for an entire year. The elderly man believes that once he understands the fundamentals, he will be able to act like an expert and instruct the newcomer as though he were a true master. Felt uneasy, convinced that his younger brother's remarkable abilities would allow him to detect any forgeries. The master let out a hearty laugh, revealing that his story about the origin of the 4 seasons technique had only been a joke. He clarifies that the manuals are merely works of fiction, not genuine guides for cultivation. The elderly man explains that tricks like that only deceive novices such as Ping, assuring everyone that he himself would not be fooled. The master revealed that the manuals had only served as decoration for the shelves, and assured that the deception would not last forever. He burst out laughing, claiming that if someone managed to make sense of that mess, he would gladly devour every book himself. Change Yu came up with the idea to deceive their junior brother once more, in hopes of obtaining another painting and resolving the issue at hand. The elderly man found himself torn, knowing that the painting's value surpassed everything the sect had achieved over hundreds of years. He disliked facing moral dilemmas like this, so he chose to leave the issue alone for the moment, intending to reflect on it later. The master smoothly shifts the conversation, expressing that it is time for the rookie to learn the art of swordsmanship under his guidance. Could hardly believe he was expected to bring his younger brother along to the provincial sword conference. He believes the newcomer might possess some talent, but lacks any inner cultivation, making it likely they'll be eliminated during the battles. The older brother had joined just once to help complete a team, and by chance, he ended up ranking among the top 500. The elderly man requests that he keep the truth hidden from the other brothers, and simply inform them that the money was recovered. On the mountain's far side, the outlines of 2 swordsmen appeared as they practiced their skills atop the steep cliff. The newcomer faced off against a glowing swordsman, meeting each swift and accurate attack with quick reflexes of their own. His eyes filled with tears of jealousy as he watched the rookie master the sword's power in just a brief period. He comes across Yiping practicing and inquires about Yiping's progress with mastering the new sword techniques. The older brother wondered aloud whether his sibling ever grew weary of training non-stop with the sword day after day. The rookie felt that he made small improvements every day, which kept him from feeling worn out. Changing felt a wave of sadness wash over him after hearing the response, questioning within himself whether such words would come from an ordinary person. He decides to find an additional manual so that his younger brother can pick up some new skills. Yiping loudly expressed his boredom, eagerly wishing to discover and practice new sword techniques. His eyes sparkled with anticipation as he considered that, since a single sword mark had already taught him so much, studying an entire manual could help him reach even greater heights. Passed the manual to his younger brother, explaining that it bore the name Primordial Art of the Demon God. The cover of the book features an image of a powerful man standing bravely in front of a terrifying monster with menacing, pointed teeth. The rookie stared in awe at the name, silently deciding that only a supreme technique deserved to be called Demon God. A mischievous grin spread across his face as his confidence grew, convinced more than ever that this was a secretive and immensely powerful sect. Sect. Changju invents a tale about discovering the technique within ancient ruins, claiming that no one knows where it truly came from. He believes that combining his physical strength with his knowledge of swordsmanship will make him equal to any cultivator. Despite feeling a deep sense of shame about the lie, the older brother presses on with the plan. He bids farewell to the newcomer, silently worrying that if he continues mentioning those worthless topics, his true intentions will be revealed. A sly grin spreads across his face as he imagines himself mastering the fundamentals of the technique, already planning to resume his habit of boasting once he has the basics down. As darkness settled over the landscape, the outline of the young newcomer could be seen practicing with his sword atop the cliff. He launches into the ancient techniques of the demon god, wielding his sword with fierce and powerful motions. Hearing the technique's outrageous name sends an electrifying thrill through his entire body. He understands that mastering it requires his complete concentration. He can't afford to approach it with only half his effort. The young man chooses to steady his fourth force before taking any impulsive actions. Atop the mountains, home stood quietly, surrounded by solitude and calm, far removed from the bustle of everyday life. The older brother sat cross-legged on the floor, focusing intently as he attempted to master the technique he had recently purchased. He flips through the manual with intense focus, yet none of the instructions make any sense to him. His eyes filled with desperation as he questioned why he was unable to grasp it, especially since the master insisted it was possible. Effortlessly, the newcomer practiced the sword techniques, already moving with remarkable confidence and skill. His attacks moved with incredible speed and accuracy, leaving shimmering golden streaks throughout the area. After several hours of grueling practice, Yipping succeeded in learning all 4 sword techniques. He inhales deeply, feeling a hint of exhaustion mixed with pride over the outcome of his intense practice. At this point, he believes that fully understanding the essence of the sword is the final step to mastering the entire technique. He realizes that mastering sword intent means grasping the purpose driving each move, and knows he must be patient with the process. He thinks his older brother passed him the secret manual to help him stay patient and avoid rushing into things. A confident grin spread across his face as he recognized this pattern. It was so typical of his brother, who seemed to predict every outcome before it happened. The rookie starts studying the manual that his senior brother had given him, eager to understand the techniques of body cultivation. The title of the book was The Primordial Body Refining Art of the Demon God, and it appeared to possess immense strength. According to the manual's creator, he endured for 360 million ages before finally becoming one with the heavens. He revealed that he had mastered the technique by carefully studying the sky and the land for a long time. A genuine body cultivator possesses the power to seize the sun and the moon, capable of obliterating all things with just one blow. At the highest level of physical cultivation, individuals were expected to mirror the demon gods, transforming their bodies to possess demonic characteristics. Yiping could hardly believe what he was reading about the technique. Amazement and disbelief mixed together as he tried to process the information. According to the manual, anyone wishing to master this skill would have to endure trials that were incredibly agonizing. The rookie recalls being known as the King of Studies, which fills him with confidence that he can succeed. He navigates to the homepage and discovers a straightforward celestial chart displayed there. In his thoughts, he saw his older brother, who began to clarify that the diagram had been created by a powerful deity. The young man grasps the concept, yet he feels awkward and somewhat foolish about the way the diagrams are presented. Despite his uncertainty, he slowly lifts his arms toward the glowing golden sky, mimicking the position shown in the diagram. He flushed with embarrassment, yet he chose to believe his senior brother, confident that he was being truthful. Yipping focused intently, determined to grasp the reasoning behind the stance shown in the diagram. At the same time, in a distant part of the Jin Kingdom, a scene unfolds against the backdrop of classic, time-honored buildings. A man inquired whether Ms. Mew had completed her manuscript, reminding her that the deadline was drawing near. The woman grew irritated, insisting she was nearly finished and urging him to leave her alone. The man grumbled about the lack of sales for her book, insisting that people doubted the credibility of over-the-top instruction guides. The young woman's irritation grew as she listened to the complaint, and she suggested that if he was so dissatisfied, he should just write it himself. She next wanted to know whether he had discovered any information regarding her earlier question about the 10 Realms Academy. The woman's eyes lit up with excitement when she learned that enrollment was beginning soon, and that she would have the chance to meet a variety of fascinating new people. 3 days passed, and the rookie remained seated atop the mountain, lost in deep meditation beneath a sky glittering with stars. For the 3rd time, blood spilled from his mouth, yet the meaning behind the art he pursued viewed remained a mystery to him. According to the manual, individuals with talent grasp the diagram immediately, yet he finds himself unable to do so. He questioned his own ability to understand, doubting himself for failing to grasp something that seemed so straightforward. He chooses to persist, understanding that true determination is revealed during challenging times. Determined to master the technique, the young man commits himself to an intense routine, dedicating 22 hours each day to training and allowing himself just 2 hours to rest. Driven by unwavering resolve, he promises himself that he will not stop until he has fully perfected the technique. He believes that when a technique appears simple, it often hides complex and profound principles beneath the surface. The young man wonders if the fundamental idea lies in reflecting on the vastness of the sky and the land, or if it is more important to understand everything as a whole. He recalled learning about the concept of 3 eyes and the 6 extraordinary abilities. The Dharma eye represented an advanced form of awareness, allowing one to perceive the true nature and underlying principles of all things. Realizing this, he recognizes the importance of pursuing a broader perspective, one that grasps both the true nature of things and the underlying principles that govern them. Keeping this intention at the forefront, he directs his thoughts toward pondering the mysteries of the universe and strives to attain the first stage of enlightenment. Without warning, a brilliant light flared up next to him, filling him with the sense that something significant was on the verge of unfolding. As a bright light shone in his eyes, he began to realize that he was at last grasping how the technique truly worked. He watched the sun dip below the horizon, its golden light illuminating the sky, and in that peaceful moment, the significance of the celestial diagram became clear to him. The young man realizes that the sky holds much more than what is visible. It embodies the very essence shared by both Buddhas and demons. He suddenly understood that the manual was explaining how every individual possessed a unique demon god of their own. The inexperienced newcomer mentally berated himself for his carelessness and for nearly letting the opportunity to unlock his abilities slip by. He realizes that watching the night sky is really a journey into his own spirit, where he uncovers the presence of his inner demon god. While he sat in deep meditation, a soft wind swept by, causing a vibrant aura to slowly radiate from his form. He focused deeply, sensing a strong and commanding force stirring inside his spirit. A radiant figure with many arms emerged before him, bathed in shimmering golden light. His eyes glowed brightly, leaving no doubt in his mind that his inner demon god had taken form before him. A brilliant blue comet flashed through the night sky above the back mountain of 10 Realms Academy, its light cutting across the darkness. A man with pointed teeth grew animated, proclaiming that a divine event was unfolding and believing that a god had appeared before them. A different man chastised him, accusing him of acting more like a monster than someone who followed the honorable way of cultivation. He explains that events in the sky often hold little significance and advises against relying on them. Despite the man's frightening appearance, he persisted in his request, leading his senior brother to choose to stay and watch what would happen next. He claims that genuine gold always shines brightly, making it impossible to conceal its radiant glow from anyone nearby. The blue comet streaked across the night sky, its brilliance illuminating the stars with remarkable intensity. Within the majestic halls of the great imperial palace, an individual gazes upward, silently witnessing the familiar blue comet as it streaks across the nighttime sky. A woman announced that the star had descended, signaling that a new ruler was about to take the throne. The emperor contemplates the possible consequences if the deity were to manifest beyond the borders of Great Shia. His eyes filled with resolve, he confidently declares that Great Shia is destined to possess the whole world. Across the icy plains where demonic beasts roamed, a familiar comet streaked through a sky painted green by the shimmering aurora. A massive beast with glowing crimson eyes lay trapped within the ice, its jaws clamped tightly around a human figure. Without warning, a strong, white-haired man erupted from the creature's jaws, delivering a forceful punch as he emerged. His untamed look was marked by sharp, pointed ears and a physique shaped by endless combat. A sly grin spreads across his face as he speculates about the arrival of a god, finding the situation deeply fascinating. He thinks that the demons must increase their efforts now that a new danger has appeared. At home, the mountain was bathed in shimmering moonlight as the full moon cast its glow over the landscape where he lived. The older brother's stomach churned as he pored over the manual repeatedly, still unable to make sense of any of it. He grew increasingly annoyed at his inability to grasp the technique, silently questioning the person responsible for creating this method of cultivation. The young man had grown accustomed to life without cultivation, yet a new concern weighed on him, the lingering debt he owed to his master. He recalls the image of his enraged master gripping a sword, insisting that he hand over 10,000 coins. Changju realizes that, due to the money involved, Cheapskate will continue to stick by his side and never give him any peace. He notices a shooting star streaking across the night sky, and an unexpected wave of sadness washes over him without any clear cause. A pipe clenched between his teeth, he inhaled thoughtfully, questioning whether this moment marked the onset of the infamous nightly existential crisis. He let out a deep sigh, his mind wandering to ponder the purpose of of existence while he sat in solitude beneath a vast, starlit sky. From a distance atop the cliff, illuminated by the glow of the full moon, the junior sister quietly observed him. Every evening, her older brother could be found gazing up at the night sky, and she was left to puzzle over what might be on his mind. She wonders aloud about the second senior brother's opinion regarding what is happening with their eldest brother. Sue believed that the senior brother's impatience stemmed from the new disciple's lack of strength. Standing tall and confident, he resolved that the next day would be his chance to prove what it meant to be a real master. Once more, the figure of the many-armed demon god emerged, silhouetted against the backdrop of a blazing sun. The deity stood tall, radiating power, with eyes that shone brilliantly and a grand crown resting upon its head. The rookie sat cross-legged on the ground, quietly meditating beneath the twinkling stars that filled the night sky. His eyes began to shine as he understood that this was a unique body technique meant for him alone. Within his mind, the imposing and formidable form of the demon god manifested, radiating an intense and commanding energy. The force of its presence was so overwhelming that anyone who tried to confront it directly would be filled with fear. As the deity's all-seeing gaze settled upon him, his mind was suddenly overwhelmed with a surge of knowledge. The knowledge surged into his mind, washing over him and uncovering the hidden details of the technique. The rookie sat quietly atop the Sect's mountain, focusing on meditation while the stars shimmered overhead. An intense blue light shines from his eyes while he takes in every bit of knowledge. The ancient technique forges a new existence by wielding the sky like a hammer and shaping the earth into a blazing forge. The structure consists of 5 distinct tiers, each symbolizing a unique demon god associated with the great. The rookie realized that the section about the lesser demon god described how one's body could be tempered using the celestial hammer. The key lay in channeling spiritual energy, allowing one to link with both the heavens and the earth, ultimately strengthening the body. Enduring the pain demanded an extraordinary amount of determination, making the process incredibly dangerous. He realizes that as techniques become more powerful, they place an even heavier strain on the body's stamina. He feels hopeless as he discovers that he lacks the spiritual energy needed to use the technique. He believes that using alchemy pills could provide him with a small amount of spiritual energy. He chooses to avoid taking the medicine, knowing that all remedies come with side effects and realizing that he has not yet begun cultivating. At the same time, at the home of the second senior brother, a house stood quietly atop a snow-covered mountain. A young man focused intently on his alchemy practice, clutching a radiant pill that glowed with flickering orange flames. He stood tall, confidence radiating from him, as he resolved to prove to his older brother the true meaning of being a role model the next day. At his elder brother's home, the house rests atop a mountain summit beneath a cloudless sky. Knelt on the ground, overwhelmed by despair over his failure to master the technique, he shouts in frustration, admitting that everything confuses him and nothing seems logical. The young man sprawled out on the floor, choosing to unwind. In his mind, avoiding any attempt meant he would never have to face failure. He believes that ultimately, nothing matters, since hard work and achievement hold no real significance when viewed against the vastness of existence. The sect master arrived, watching him intently as he lay stretched out, her face set in a grave expression. He walked over to his disciple, a gentle smile lighting up his face, while the young student sat nearby, looking as though all hope had vanished from his world. He inquired about the young man's well-being and wondered whether he had been able to grasp the skill that required a payment of 9,000 coins. Wearing a serene smile, explains that true peace arrives only after one lets go of their worries. The sudden glow of Buddhist light caught the old man off guard, prompting him to question what sort of cultivation the young boy had been practicing in that area. The choice to be made claims to have abandoned all pursuits, admitting that during that period he accomplished nothing at all. The master comes to the conclusion that they should journey to the silent forest mountain as a group. He suggested that facing a life-or-death challenge could lead to a major breakthrough, and the other man nodded in agreement. The older brother feels a surge of fear when thoughts of the silent forest mountain's ominous reputation flash through his mind. The area held a reputation as the deadliest spot within the Blue Province, claiming the lives of disciples from even the most powerful sects. The master makes up his mind to hunt demonic beasts for profit instead of deceiving Yiping any longer. Dashed away frantically, insisting that he would not enter the silent forest, believing his own life held greater value. The 4 sects stood proudly as one of the 3 most powerful sects within the Blue Province. An elder expressed his approval, noting that his disciples had made significant progress in mastering the Spring Thunder technique. Out of the group, 7 individuals managed to achieve the ultimate goal, while 2 others mastered the technique to its highest level. He feels a surge of pride as he confidently declares that they stand as the finest talents in all of Blue Province. He cautions everyone that the Sword Conference is unlike any other event, making it clear that nobody should let their guard down. The disciples could hardly believe it when they discovered that the sect master himself would be overseeing their training. The elder goes on to disclose that secretive sects from the Blue Province plan to send their own disciples to participate in the competition. One of the boys began to feel uneasy, sensing that the involvement of secret secret relationships would make the situation more difficult. According to ancient tales, a fierce conflict once erupted across the 10 realms, forcing numerous sects to retreat into secrecy. Inside the grand main hall of the Four Sect, an air of authority and magnificence filled the space. The sect master received respectful and formal greetings from numerous masters and elders. The leader of the sect stood tall, his white hair striking against his shoulders. 2 swords were strapped across his back, and he exuded an air of unwavering strength. He explains that he has brought everyone together to talk about a crucial issue concerning the future of sects. An elder wonders aloud whether the issue involves the token from the profound sword tower. The master shook his head in refusal and questioned whether anyone among them was familiar with the 10 Realms Academy. One of the women speculates about whether the famed academy plans to open its doors to new students once more. The 10 Realms Academy stood as the most esteemed institution, renowned for turning even the most unremarkable students into legendary figures. The master disclosed that the Jin Kingdom's imperial court planned to dispatch an envoy in search of skilled individuals. The elders wondered with interest about the identity of the person the sect master had selected for the academy. He clarifies that, across the continent, the imperial court is ranked just a little higher than the immortal sect. The master presented a painting to the elders, using it as a hint to reveal information about the special emissary. The observers immediately noticed the distinctive techniques associated with a scholar of the Blue Lotus, and they were awestruck by the painting's stunning beauty. The elders speculated among themselves, questioning whether the figure depicted in the painting might be the distinguished envoy destined to enlist their help. The group recalls that the scholar known as the Blue Lotus vanished half a year ago, and they find themselves questioning his current whereabouts. The master discloses that within the Jin Kingdom's royal court, a renowned swordsman is celebrated as a prodigy who once studied at the prestigious academy. A new painting by the hermit surfaced in the Jin Kingdom, and rumors began to spread about the commander's exceptional skill with a sword. An elder raised a question, wondering whether there was any solid evidence to confirm that everything being discussed was more than just mere speculation. The sect master's expression radiated confidence as he assured everyone that he himself stood as undeniable evidence. He flung the scroll upward, causing a brilliant golden energy to burst forth from the artwork, visible to everyone around. The force of the aura surged with such intensity that it drove the elders backward. They sensed both the sharpness of a sword and the intense heat within the painting, leaving them stunned by the overwhelming force radiating from it. The master gestured toward the person depicted in the painting, questioning whether the others continued to believe he was mistaken. He reveals that the artwork embodies the essence of swordsmanship, showing that the creator has achieved remarkable mastery. The elders express their admiration for their master's remarkable insight, acknowledging the skill required to reach such conclusions. The master boasted confidently, certain that he could easily recognize something of such great importance. He explains that the commander has no interest in riches or romantic pursuits. Instead, the commander is passionate about exploring new places and experiencing the world. An elder observed that certain masters would trade flying swords to villagers in return for fruit. He turned to the master, seeking guidance on how they might satisfy the whims of such an unpredictable envoy. The master instructs the group to avoid flattering the emissary and emphasizes the importance of keeping everything confidential. He considered himself wiser than everyone else and often imagined how lost the sect would be without his remarkable mind. When darkness settled over distant places, the rookie sat quietly atop a mountain, lost in meditation. He chooses to postpone practicing the primordial art due to its risks and makes up his mind to seek guidance from his senior brother. Without warning, he hears his name being called and glances over his shoulder to find out who is coming toward him. The man revealed his identity as the sect's second senior brother and requested that others address him by that title. The newcomer feels a jolt of surprise, questioning the reason behind the second senior brother's personal visit. He offered brother a courteous bow, following the traditional gesture expected among members of their group. The young man clarified that the older brother couldn't make it because he was occupied, so he had been sent instead to give a lesson about the pills. Yiping felt anxious, believing that his abilities might be lacking, which led him to come in person to offer assistance. Brother offered reassurance, explaining that each person follows a unique journey and there was no need for concern. Determination surged within the rookie as he resolved to work hard until his brother acknowledged him. He raises his hand toward the sky, and a vivid green light starts to glow from his fingertips. A massive orb of vibrant green energy began to take shape overhead, radiating a remarkable and untainted strength. The swirling energy shifted shape, becoming a bright green cauldron that hovered weightlessly in the space separating the pair. Suggests that they begin by having the rookie practice pill refinement, allowing the newcomer to grasp the fundamentals. The man gazed intently at the newcomer, readying himself to begin teaching the fundamentals of alchemy. He reveals that the secrets of the Tao of Alchemy contain deep and mysterious knowledge knowledge about the universe. The rookie paused, recognizing the familiar question about who held the title of the most powerful alchemist, and began to reflect on it. He recalls how his eldest senior brother once inquired about the highest mastery one could achieve with a sword. The rookie's eyes sparkled with curiosity, as he began to suspect that his second senior brother might secretly possess exceptional skills. He explains that alchemists possess the power to defy destiny and reshape fate through the medicines they create. As a result, alchemists commanded deep respect and admiration, even from those who held great power. Believed his companion's ideas lacked ambition, so he urged him to dream bigger and consider a more daring approach. The newcomer believes that the strongest pill has the ability to transform someone's body and give them eternal life. The elder disciple clarified that a true master alchemist shapes not just medicinal pills, but manipulates the very forces of nature itself. Yiping reels in disbelief at the thought that every pill could contain its own world, feeling a deep sense of fear at such a notion. He viewed the world as if it were made of capsules, imagining the sky, the land, and even the vast universe squeezed into one small form. The rookie's enthusiasm surged once more, as he came to understand that the art of alchemy held just as much value as the way of the sword. He wonders aloud whether his second senior brother has attained that stage, and the other person responds, indicating that he more or less has. The young man's excitement was impossible to contain when he realized that his second brother possessed extraordinary hidden talents as well. Begins to suspect that his deception was surprisingly convincing, and this realization makes him uneasy about how much influence might have had on him lately. Yiping requested that he demonstrate how to refine a heaven and earth pill, wanting to observe the process firsthand. The senior brother admits that he has not yet studied the Tao of alchemy, so he is only able to explain the fundamental concepts. He points out that, according to an old saying, every remedy carries its own harmful side, and even the most skilled alchemist cannot eliminate it completely. Believes that his classmates would probably smack him around if they ever overheard him make that comment. He persists with his deception, claiming that the toxins in the pills naturally originate from the very herbs used during their preparation. When the poison was taken out, the pill lost all of its healing properties as well. The senior brother explained that the key to creating alchemy without poison involved avoiding the use of herbs altogether. He insists it seems ridiculous, yet the rookie remains skeptical simply because the underlying concept is still beyond his grasp. When he reflected on his immortal days, he realized that back then, he would have dismissed any claim that immortals were capable of opening the gates of heaven. The newcomer realizes that their perspective is limited, much like a frog trapped at the bottom of a well, completely unaware of how immense the world beyond truly is. Clarifies that herbs draw their vitality from spiritual energy, but this energy becomes tainted when exposed to the qi associated with the 5 elements. Through poison-free alchemy, spiritual energy drawn from both the heavens and the earth was refined into pills of the highest quality. Ping pondered whether it was truly feasible to craft supreme-grade pills without any raw ingredients, and the idea seemed logical to him. He wonders aloud whether a person lacking a spiritual root could use Q-condensing pills. The senior brother claimed he was capable, though his results were limited, and the medicine required was extremely expensive. The newcomer feels discouraged, yet his thoughts drift to how he might solve the issue with his spiritual abilities. Began getting ready to explain the fundamental principles of alchemy to his younger brother, using the cauldron as a teaching tool. He believes his student behaves admirably and sets a standard for others, in contrast to how much you have changed. Amid the mountains, jagged cliffs rose sharply, their heights shrouded by thick, swirling mist that blanketed the land. The master and his older disciple made their way through the dense forest, scanning their surroundings as they looked for demonic beasts to track down. Felt concerned that brother might not be able to handle the responsibility of looking after the sect's newest disciple by himself. The master claims that he remains composed, possesses great inner strength, and is capable of facing any challenge. Without warning, the older brother sensed an odd presence, causing him to halt in his tracks and scan his surroundings with a cautious look. A sudden noise from the heart of the shadowy forest caught his attention, leaving him startled and wondering about its source. A tiny rat, sporting a single unicorn horn, suddenly leaped from the bushes and startled the boy. The master let out a laugh upon noticing how frightened his disciples were. He reassured them, explaining that there were no big demonic beasts in the area. Immediately afterward, an enormous creature bearing gleaming crystals along its back emerged, unleashing a thunderous roar directed at both of them. At dawn, sunlight bathed the mountains surrounding the second senior brother's home. The new recruit loosened up his muscles, getting ready to face another round of training at the Blue Clouds SCC. He made his way through the old temple, taking in the stunning scenery that surrounded him, a gentle smile spreading across his face. He often felt his hopes fade as he recalled that, in this world, he lacked any spiritual energy to develop. He made his way to the library pavilion, eager to gather and learn everything he could about cultivation. When he arrives, he finds himself admiring the pavilion's straightforward and spotless design. He thinks this misses the genuine look of a secret group that pays no attention to how they appear to others. He questioned to himself the reason behind a single stick of incense placed in the burner at the main hall. Wearing a silly grin, he found it hard to believe that a sect of this size could ever lack wealth. He realizes that genuine intentions are most important, and that the true essence of the Tao can be found in the little things. The newcomer stepped through the pavilion doors and walked into the library, eager to discover new information. He wandered along the hallways lined with countless, amazed by the sheer volume of literature surrounding him. The shelves held countless manuals, each bearing fascinating titles and containing descriptions of impressive skills. He discovers volumes detailing the sword techniques of the Heavenly Emperor, along with texts describing various other celestial powers. He stared in disbelief at the secret books left out in the open on the shelves, completely unguarded. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he became convinced that he had truly discovered a secret sect, thoroughly enjoying every moment of the experience. He takes a deep breath, realizing that staying calm is even more important as his excitement grows. His mouth began to water, but he managed to restrain himself, choosing instead to pace himself and read through everything slowly, one step after another. He carefully flipped through the library book, savoring each page slowly, much like a person enjoying a meal bite by bite. The following morning, sunlight spilled over the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the courtyard. As dawn's rays streamed into the room, the rookies slowly opened their eyes and let out a weary sigh, exhausted from hours spent studying through the night. He regrets that he was finally finding his groove, yet the moment for today's training has already arrived. After spending countless hours reading, he finally grasped the fundamental concepts of the world and how cultivation worked within it. He had never realized just how influential the imperial dynasty was within the world of cultivation. He wished he had never joined the assessment ceremony, realizing he would have made a different choice if he had known everything beforehand. A grin spread across his face as he wondered if his recent streak of misfortune was finally shifting into a stroke of good luck, just like he had read about in stories. Without warning, a girl's voice catches his attention, prompting him to look over his shoulder to find out who is there. She walked over with a friendly smile, curious about why he was sitting by himself in the library. The young woman warmly greeted him and revealed that her name was, explaining that she was his senior sister. The rookie's face flushed with embarrassment, and his mouth fell open in awe at the sight of his stunning upperclassman. She saw a flush of color appear on his cheeks and wondered about the reason, but he simply shrugged it off, claiming the warmth in the air was to blame. The senior sister motivated him to continue working hard and promised that she would show him the secret behind the great supreme doubt. He begins to question whether she, too, might secretly possess the remarkable skills that he has seen in other members of the sect. He quickly chided himself for letting his mind wander, noticing that she appeared younger than him, which made it hard for him to believe she could be a master. The young man mentioned he had a question for her, and she responded by letting him know he was free to ask. He presented her with a manual, inquiring whether he was allowed to practice the method described within its pages. The girl's eyes widened with astonishment when she realized he had mastered the technique involving the 3,600 immortal apertures. She assures him that he is certainly capable and silently questions what might prevent him from mastering that technique. The inexperienced cultivator felt anxious about the possibility of suffering a chi deviation if he attempted to practice cultivation without any spiritual energy present within him. The senior sister insisted that the techniques were so simple that there was no way anyone could experience a chi deviation. She believes everything here is nothing more than a poor imitation and considers it almost impossible for him to do anything out of the ordinary. The senior sister turned around and inquired about the reason behind his strong emotions. Tears welling up in his eyes, the rookie expresses relief that there is now hope for saving his spiritual root. He shared that discovering the cultivation technique most compatible with him was the reason for his happiness. She motivated him to put in greater effort and requested that he refer to her as senior sister Linger. The girl bid farewell, explaining that she had only been passing through, while the rookie expressed gratitude for their brief conversation. He smiled and returned his attention to the manual he had borrowed from the library, eager to deepen his understanding of cultivation. The core concept behind the 3,600 immortal apertures technique was straightforward. The human body contains countless hidden wonders, carefully protected by acupuncture points that keep them sealed within. With every immortal aperture that became unblocked, the rate at which spiritual energy was absorbed increased twofold. The newcomer struggled the most because his abilities were limited and he couldn't take in much energy. He is convinced that mastering this technique will allow him to make up for his significant weakness. The young man had already grasped the basics of the Four Thunder Sword technique. He had gained knowledge of the ancient demon god's art through teachings passed down from his older brother. From his second senior brother, he discovered the mysteries of alchemy that did not rely on poisons. The rookie feels a wave of nervousness wash over him as he struggles to picture the kind of strength he might possess once he gains spiritual energy. He resolved to clear his mind and immediately began practicing the cultivation technique of the immortal aperture. In the heart of the mountains, a powerful blast suddenly erupted, sending shockwaves through the dense forest. The sect master, breathing heavily and wounded, struggled to recover after the fierce battle with the enormous demonic beast. Lay sprawled across the earth as his master confronted a monstrous creature adorned with gleaming crystals along its spine. The elderly man urgently called out to his disciple, urging him to escape while reminding him about the evasion talisman hidden in his pocket. Changju instructed his master to remain calm, assuring him that they still had a few possibilities left to consider. The elderly man felt a deep sense of admiration for the determination his disciple displayed, and he found himself reflecting on the moment when this young person had grown so self-assured. A vibrant blue aura erupted around the older brother as he himself to confront the menacing demonic beast. The master considers whether the boy might be concealing an incredible technique, yet remains doubtful about his chances of victory. He sprang forward, racing at the creature as his sword shone with a vivid blue glow. His eyes sparkled with resolve, and a confident grin spread across his face as he himself to launch an assault on the massive beast. He shouted at the creature, demanding it leave, and then unleashed a forceful blow, using every ounce of his strength. The beast's paw was slashed by the attack, yet the creature stayed upright, appearing almost unfazed by the injury. Collapsed onto the ground, worn out and hurt, having spent every last bit of his strength during the unexpected assault. The master stared in disbelief, questioning whether his disciple had reached their limit in the battle with the beast. The young man felt content, believing he had given his final performance and could now move on without any lingering regrets. The attack infuriated the beast, causing it to whirl around rapidly and unleash a swirling tornado of pink energy. A focused surge of energy shot out, aiming at the pair with incredible force. Tears streamed down their faces as they embraced, each believing this moment would be their last after enduring such a brutal assault. Without warning, a woman's voice demanded to know which demon would dare to behave like that while she was there. An unseen power struck the demonic beast, sending it hurtling through the air and flinging it a great distance away. The action was carried out with intense force. A massive burst of fire erupts at the spot where the creature touched down, sending clouds of dust and thick smoke billowing into the air. Change, now under his master's control, stood frozen in disbelief, unable to comprehend the events that had just unfolded as his master watched the scene in shock. The young man's eyes widened with astonishment as he noticed the attire of his rescuer, a flicker of recognition passing across his face. A group of onlookers studied the scattered remnants of the monstrous creature lying across the forest ground. A woman wondered aloud why cultivators with only 2 weeks of experience had come to the mountains. Called out to his master, gesturing toward the woman as he revealed that she was the third elder from the sword sect. The woman catches the sound of the shout and swivels around, her face set in a stern and commanding look. Tears welled up in the older brother's eyes as he struggled to find the courage to apologize, but fear kept him silent. Fear clouded his sight, and a troubling thought crossed his mind. Could that be the special emissary? The woman's followers realized that Change Yu resembled the person depicted in the portrait of the special envoy. The elder takes a deep breath, striving to regain composure as memories of the sect master's instructions resurface in their mind. Both the master and the disciple felt a wave of anxiety wash over them, struggling to maintain their composure despite belonging to a powerful sect. In the heart of the shadowy, mist-filled forest, both groups faced one another, an uneasy quiet hanging heavily between them. The disciples belonging to the rival sect gaze at, their faces a mix of curiosity and admiration. Both the master and his disciple stared at each other in confusion, each unable to grasp why the other was reacting that way. Noticed the strange looks directed at him and began to feel uneasy. His nerves intensified, triggering his familiar tendency to grow distant and somber whenever anxiety took hold. The disciples belonging to the rival sect shivered under the intensity of his stare, immediately realizing that they were in the presence of a true master. The elder approached and attempted to engage with the visitors, inquiring about the purpose of their presence at that location. The leader of the Blue Cloud sect found himself bewildered by the unexpected display of courtesy and was at a loss for an appropriate reaction. His face filled with desperation, he struggled to find his words, eventually managing to explain that they had only been strolling nearby. The room becomes filled with an uncomfortable silence and a sense of embarrassment for everyone after the elderly man's reply. Without warning, the woman realized the master of the Blue Cloud sect was hurt, and concern quickly filled her thoughts. She walks over to him, worry written across her face, and checks if he is all right. The woman presented the sect master with a mystical skin pill, said to possess the power to mend injuries. Change Yu and his master both reeled in shock when they discovered that the pill's value exceeded 1,000 taels of gold. The unusual kindness she showed made them uneasy, causing them to question her true intentions. The older brother shook his head at the sight of the pill, making it clear he would not take it. He reminded everyone that they needed to leave quickly because an important appointment awaited them. A disciple belonging to the woman stepped forward, halting the group, and indicated that he wanted to pose a question to them. Changju's mind raced with anxiety as he realized he had always suspected that the assistance wouldn't come without strings attached. He couldn't shake the feeling that hidden intentions were at play. The master worried that others might mock them because they came from a minor sect. The young man inquires about what they believe defines the path of the sword, while gets ready to respond. The leader of the Blue Cloud sect stared in disbelief, silently questioning how anyone could ask something so outrageous. The older brother put his plan, the big shot, into action, while remarked that it was an impressive question. Standing tall and confident, he acknowledged that the other person had chosen well by seeking his guidance on mastering the way of the sword. The master felt overwhelmed by worry and urged his disciple to avoid drawing attention to themselves, reminding him that they belonged to a prominent sect. Bent down to pluck a single blade of grass, then explained that, in his view, this simple act represented the real essence of mastering the sword. The elder and her student stared in disbelief, taken aback by the guy's deep and surprising response. With practiced skill, he emphasized once more that even one slender blade of grass could represent the way of the sword. The woman grows frustrated as she fails to grasp how a simple blade of grass could represent the way of the sword. The sect master's face flushes with a deep shade of red as embarrassment washes over him, making him wish he could disappear into the ground. Conveyed that mastering the sword starts within one's own heart, and wherever the heart leads, the blade is destined to follow. His eyes remained shut as he spoke softly, weaving a poem that told of a mighty sword powerful enough to break apart the stars themselves. He believes that appearing wise comes from making statements that leave others puzzled. The woman's eyes widen in disbelief as she hears his response, struggling to grasp what he truly meant by his words. A disciple explained that he had experienced a moment of clarity and now grasped the true way of the sword. The young man grew animated when he stumbled upon his find, while those around him looked on, puzzled by his sudden enthusiasm. The elder felt a wave of hopelessness wash over her, troubled by her inability to grasp what had been said, and silently questioned whether her understanding was truly that poor. The rest of the disciples claimed to grasp every detail, expressing admiration for how straightforward the sword master's teachings were. The leader of the Blue Cloud sect questioned inwardly whether others might be mistaking him for another person. He scowled with irritation, silently questioning what exactly they thought he meant, made the choice to drop the issue, and turned to leave, feeling that he had already expressed everything he wanted to say. He bids them farewell, reminding them that the amount they learn is determined entirely by their own efforts. The woman, clearly impressed, thinks about how they can now boast to others that they have met a true master. At the same time, on the mountain known for its sensual legends, the newcomer sat quietly, meditating and seeking greater strength. His eyes remained shut as he focused intently, searching within himself for the hidden immortal apertures scattered throughout his body. He gazes up at the night sky filled with stars, silently considering how far he has come in mastering the new technique. The young man successfully discovers the location of the immortal aperture, yet he remains uncertain about the method for channeling energy to set it in motion. He mourns his poor spiritual root, his thoughts tangled with worry about how he will ever gather enough energy. The newcomer realizes that mastering the basic breathing method is trickier than it initially seemed. He comes to understand that although moving chi appears simple, most people merely imitate the motions without any real comprehension. He remembered how, in a previous life, everyone accepted that 1 + 1 = 2, even though nobody really understood the reason behind it. He thinks that mastering the basics and one step beyond in spiritual energy will prepare him to pursue his destiny. Regardless of the outcome, he remains resolute in choosing a journey that sets him apart from the rest. He realizes that he has no time to spare and must take action if he wants to obtain spiritual energy. A week went by as the rookie sat in quiet meditation, birds calmly resting on his shoulders throughout the days. He let out a frustrated sigh, realizing that despite all his efforts, his cultivation had not advanced at all during this period. He chooses to set the issue aside for the moment, turning his attention to the birds gliding across the sky, painted gold by the early morning light. At home perched atop the mountain, the view remained tranquil and calm, just as it always had been. Wanting to ease his thoughts and find some peace, the young man picks up his brush and begins to paint. He gazes out over the scenery, admiring how perfect the day seems for capturing its beauty on canvas. Without warning, the second senior brother emerged and addressed the newcomer, startling the rookie, admitted his surprise at discovering the other's painting skills, and praised his impressive artistic ability. He requests that the rookie draw his portrait, mentioning that he has wanted one for a long time. The man nodded in agreement, and then inquired whether he should include a landscape in addition to the portrait. The senior brother insisted that he had no need for anything elaborate, explaining that a plain portrait would be more than enough for his tastes. Ping nodded in agreement, determined to perform well, and his thoughts lingered on ways he could show gratitude for all the guidance he had received. Once some time had passed, he completed the painting and then presented it to his second senior brother. Startled by how quickly everything happened, unrolled the scroll to discover the outcome of the painting. When he caught sight of the portrait, he questioned whether his appearance truly matched the striking image the artist had created. He expressed admiration for the rookie's skill, admitting his surprise at how talented the newcomer was at painting. The young man suggested adding a poem to accompany the painting, believing it would make the artwork feel more finished. The senior brother shakes his head, insisting that what truly matters is the portrait's resemblance to him, not whether it is accompanied by a poem. He explained that concern for his own safety had been his only worry, but now he felt confident returning without any fear. Considers revealing the portrait, hoping it will demonstrate that his own good looks can match those of his older brother. As he worked on the portrait, the rookie experienced a subtle moment of clarity, as if a new understanding was dawning within him. He chooses to test his theory by painting a new piece, opting for a pure landscape, his area of expertise. Holding the brush confidently, he skillfully outlines his latest creation, each stroke revealing his artistic expertise. With just one touch, he begins crafting his artwork, setting the stage with a shimmering golden sun in the background. With swift, confident strokes, he traced the shape of the mountains, displaying the skill and control of an expert artist. Sunlight floods the area, casting a warm glow while he focuses intently on his painting, skillfully guiding each brushstroke. With just one swift motion, he skillfully draws the horizon, expertly shaping the landscape before him. With swift and lively movements, he brought shadows and intricate details to life on the painting using his brush. With a final sweep of his brush, the artist completes his masterpiece, capturing a sense of dynamic motion in his work. The painting, rendered in shades of black and white, depicted a mountain landscape where clouds drifted above and birds soared through the sky. After completing his artwork, a bright spark lit up in his eyes, as if he had just discovered something new and profound. He realized that painting embodied the Tao, and that true artistry meant expressing both his inner feelings and the natural world. As he shuts his eyes, he senses a bond forming between his paintbrush, his emotions, and the world of nature enveloping him. His eyes flickered open, radiating a vivid blue glow that revealed he had unlocked a deeper layer of comprehension. He gazes up at the glittering constellations scattered across the night sky, and in that moment, the real significance of the approaching dawn becomes clear to him. The young man comes to understand that rather than pushing energy inward, it is wiser to open his mind and connect himself to the world around him. Spiritual energy that is meant to come together will naturally do so, while any energy that resists merging should not be compelled. At that moment, he senses the energy of the world effortlessly merging with his own body. Out of a swirling storm of blue and white energy, a crimson being with shining eyes emerged. A magnificent dragon, shimmering with hues of pink and purple energy, swept down from the sky, radiating an awe-inspiring strength and grace. The rookie, his eyes alight with curiosity, watched the mysterious creature closely, unable to grasp the situation unfolding before him. The immortal domain within the flame dragon started to widen, slowly unveiling secrets and legacies from ages past. A look of astonishment crossed his face, as he questioned whether the creature before him could be the legendary flame dragon known as the Torch of the Nine Yin. He recalls learning that the flame dragon ranked among the most dreaded of all divine creatures. The being is said to control both time and space, and is believed to be the origin of everything that exists. The young man is convinced that, with his immortal aperture now unlocked, he has the ability to practice the primordial art. He gazes at the artwork he created, then gets ready to start his body cultivation exercises. Wearing a calm look, he focused his mind, preparing himself to embark on his journey into the realm of cultivation. Before beginning, he chooses to modify the painting so that it mirrors his recent realization. With a single touch, he sweeps the clouds aside, uncovering a bright blue sky in the painting and transforming the entire artwork. Enveloped in a sea of shadows, the man sat in silent meditation, his stillness defying the oppressive dark pressing in from all sides. Even as whispers echoed through the void, his breathing remained calm, an unshakable island of serenity. Blue lightning flashed across the heavens as he stood tall beneath the storm, his cloak rippling in the wind. His eyes reflected the storm's fury, yet his heart stayed calm, a warrior ready for destiny's next strike. The silence deepened as his long black hair brushed his cheek. He turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing, his senses sharp as steel. Something unseen moved, and he was ready for it. He looked up at the rolling clouds, his chest tightening. "That can't be what I think it is," he muttered, watching the sky darken. Sweat trickled down his neck as his voice rose over the wind. "This is bad, worse than before," he shouted, panic cutting through his words. As thunder cracked overhead, he sprinted toward the swaying clothesline. "Not the robes! Will kill me if they get soaked," he shouted, fumbling to gather the garments as rain began to fall. Atop the jagged stone, Yiping faced the storm, his robe whipping around him as blue lightning tore the sky sky in half. Alone, he stared into the chaos, defiant against the heavens themselves. A dragon-shaped glow spread through his body, lighting him from within. The air around him shimmered as his power awakened. Blue fire swirled around him like a living storm, yet his expression never faltered. With a slow breath, he drew the flames inward, bending their fury to his will. As the immortal aperture bloomed within him, torrents of blue energy poured into his veins. He watched the glow spiral across his hand, marveling. His master had said such flow came only with a nascent soul, yet it felt effortless. Blue energy spiraled around him, quick and effortless. Not even the strong can do this, he muttered, watching it flow into him. For most, chi refining was a struggle, a war between will and energy. But Yiping sat unmoved, his immortal aperture glowing. Energy didn't resist him. It sought him, flowing freely into his core as the air hummed with blue light. Under the glowing sky, Yiping stood alone, unaware that his journey had already diverged from every path before him. The light around him shimmered with destiny, guiding him into a fate no cultivator had ever known. Though power surged faster than ever, frustration tightened his chest. Only one aperture had awakened, the other remaining stubbornly still. "Why won't you open?" he muttered, the glow around him flickering with his irritation. Blue light rippled around him as he exhaled slowly. "So be it," he said quietly, resolve settling like stone in his heart. The unawakened aperture pulsed faintly, mocking his patience, but he stood firm. He lowered his palm toward the trembling ground, veins of golden light spreading outward like roots. The earth answered his call, its ancient power surging upward in waves of molten force. Flames howled as he raised his hand, summoning a vortex that tore through the air like a living beast. Heat shimmered around him, yet his eyes stayed sharp, unyielding even as fire brushed his skin. Energy erupted beneath his feet, racing through him like liquid flame. He reached upward, bridging the gap between heaven and earth, his body the conduit for creation's fire. The flames coiled like dragons, roaring as his voice cut through the blaze. "Now become the furnace of the heavens," he shouted. The MC braced himself, his shadow swallowed by the storm of fire. Lightning crackled across the sky as he raised his arm high. "Heaven's wrath, be my hammer," he roared. The purple current twisted downward, encircling his weapon in raw celestial fury. From the heart of the smoke, golden light exploded outward, flooding the darkness with radiant force. The artifact hovered midair, humming with divine energy that shook the ground beneath it. The sky split apart as a column of purple lightning crashed down. A glowing mace slammed into him, its spikes searing through his aura. He screamed, his body wreathed in fire and pain. Energy spiraled around him in radiant waves as he lifted his gaze. "It's done," he said, voice trembling with triumph. "The energy listens now, it's mine to command." Purple lightning tore the sky open as he stood atop the jagged cliffs, the wind howling around him. His eyes blazed upward at the storm. "Come then," he whispered. "Let's see who yields first." The sky ruptured as a colossal beam of light crashed downward, rings of lightning swirling around it. "Can we even survive that?" someone gasped, their voice trembling beneath the roar. Purple light erupted like a storm around him. With a shout that split the air, he brought his weapon down in a strike that shattered earth and sky alike. His left eye flared blue, a glimmer of power breaking through the storm. Every muscle tightened as he channeled the energy rising deep within him. Purple energy tore through the air, swallowing everything in its path. At the center stood the MC, unmoving, while the others staggered back, shielding their eyes from the storm of light. Electric light crawled up his transformed arm, the veins glowing purple as power surged outward. The air thickened with energy, humming like a song of war. The flames devoured him, violet and merciless. His screams echoed through the inferno as his body twisted under the heat, pain and defiance burning together.